Hey Vault Hunters, welcome back to the channel with me, Donny Mayhem, and as the title suggests, this is another Borderlands 3 build video. It's my second one, should I say. I have ran Amara pretty much, if you followed my channel, since the release of this game, and I still love Amara. Up until a couple of weeks ago, I tried out FL4K, and after the first couple of campaign runs, I really got into the guy, especially some of his perks, the critical build. I think they are really good combined with some of the right weaponry, which I will show you in this video. As you can see at the minute, I'm running the iron cannon in these clips, and that is the center weapon of this build. I can't stress enough how good and insane this weapon is, especially with FL4K. It makes Mayhem 4 mode so easy, like really effortless almost, you know, especially against like some bosses, like as you can see with Katagawa Ball there, in areas where there is a lot of ads, a lot of badass enemies. You can crowd control really well with this iron cannon. It just absolutely obliterates enemies in its path. Obviously, as I've mentioned before, this is a guaranteed drop from the Fabricator in the new Moxxi's Heist DLC. I recommend combining the iron cannon with an absorb shield. More specifically, the Transformer, as I always go on about, I still think is one of the best shields in the game. Obviously, so then you'll be regenerating your ammo as well. But I can't stress enough, the iron cannon, although I use other gear as well, makes Mayhem 4 so much easier with the right build when you are hitting that high damage and you're obliterating bosses effortlessly in seconds on Mayhem 4 mode to get some of that good loot. So let's get into all the other gear and the skill trees as well. Okay, so the purpose of this build overall is just to get some stacking high critical hit damage and regenerating my action skill quite quickly as well. Also having, you know, a little bit of health regeneration in there and the ability to revive with my pet. So first and foremost, my action skill itself is the fadeaway. I find the 200% critical hit damage to be absolutely monstrous, especially with the iron cannon when you're hitting, because you only get 3 shots while fadeaway is active, but it is enough, especially with a high power weapon like the iron cannon. And obviously you get your higher movement speed and a bit of health regen as well. So what we do, I'll stick in this skill tree for now. So I just put 2 into the health regen, and I put a maximum of 5 into the Furious attack just for that gun damage. 3 into all my BFFs, because it's always important to have your pet to have high health, so obviously he can revive you if and when needed. And I just put 1 into Eager to Impress, just so it's in there, so for every kill it just reduces the cooldown by a tiny little bit. It's not that important, you could put there somewhere else. Obviously Lick the Wounds, so my pet can revive me, as I said before, as and when needed. 3 out of 3 into Turn Tail and Run. And you will notice this one as well, it is really cool skill. So when you're moving, you're going to be regenerating health and having a bit of damage reduction. And while you're standing still, which predominantly you would do with the iron cannon and a few of the other weapons, you are going to have more damage as well. And last one on this skill tree, I think is one of the best skills with FL4K, and that is when you're above half health, your gun damage and movement speed are increased, as well as your pet's damage, which doesn't really come into it, but as you can see, it's buffed by a class mod, so I've currently got plus 42% gun damage and 16.7% movement speed. Okay, onto the skill tree I've put the most points in. So this tree is all about your critical hit and getting your gun damage up. So first of all, I have Leave No Trace at 3 out of 3. So whenever you score a critical hit, there's a chance that you can regen some ammo, which is really useful, especially combining with the Transformer shield, where you're going to have a chance to absorb bullets as well. 3 out of 5 in Interplanetary Stalker, and just 1 out of 5 into Second Intention. I just put that one in there just for the sake of it, really, obviously so it can stack. It's a hunter skill, you could put it just 4 out of 5 in that, but I did that anyway. A little bit of reload speed that stacks doesn't really give any harm. Hunter's Eye, which I put a few into, and it's also buffed by my class mod. Again, it just stacks up your critical hit damage, armor damage, and reduces the damage taken versus beasts. I had 3 out of 3 in head count. Well, this is where your quick action skill regeneration will come from. So every time you score a critical hit, there is a chance that their action cooldown is reduced. 3 out of 5 in Two Fang. Now, I kind of wish I'd have put this up a bit so you increase the chance of getting an extra projectile, because most of the iron cannons that I run are already a 2-shot version anyway, the annexed version, and with this you get a chance to fire an extra projectile, which just increases that damage even more. Obviously 2 out of 3 into the big game, which just increases your hunter skills, duration and effects. 2 out of 3 in the most dangerous game. Always good to stack more critical hit damage. 1 out of 1 in Galactic Shadow for more crits. 4 out of 5 in Grim Harvest, which again, like the rest of these, just increases your gun damage, and 1 in Mega 4. Now that left me with 3 skill points. You can swap a couple of these around, well I could have done anyway. As I said, this build just tends to suit me, and the 3 that I put into was just Persistent Hunter, purely because you just get an extra 12% gun damage, so it all adds up. So that's it for the skill trees anyway. As I said, it's just all about high crits, high gun damage, and a little bit of health regen in there as well. So onto the gear. So if, say for example, if I'm running the raid, I may put 2 or 3 iron cannons on, like a corrosive one or a shock one, but general gameplay, I think the annexed fire one does absolutely fine for me. It obliterates most things. So, but when I come up against bosses, say like Genevieve, for example, I'll switch to the corrosive one, so on and so forth. But the dueling stagecoach. So this weapon is really cool, and it's an anointed one that does additional corrosive damage, but I am looking for a better one, maybe 100% damage. But this is really useful in crowded situations if you're hitting the crits, especially with when the bullets bounce off, and you'll see that it regens your ability really, really quickly, your action skill, and it's got a lot of power to boot as well. Jacobs is definitely friendly with the flak, but as you can see, it's not the best stagecoach around. Level 49, I am looking out for a different one. Rowan's Call is a new one in there. I've only just got this gun anointed, and it performs really well, but it's more in there because it's quite cool, really. You can put wherever you want in here. Like I said, this is mainly an ion build, but it will be more with the Maggie once I find a better version of it, because this thing is a monster with this kind of build, but with the high critical hit damage. But I mainly use it just to take out the little ads that you see around the lower health enemies that you don't want to waste rockets on. It's great for just taking those out pretty quickly, and it does suit well with the build anyway. I'm just looking for a better variant of it. However, in terms of weapons, I would recommend, if you're going to run this kind of build with flak, to run, I don't have one on me at the moment, I think I've transferred it from the character, but the Brainstormer shotgun, because you can chain electric, and them electric chains have a chance to hit criticals, which can just cool down your action skill even more. In terms of the shield, as I always go on about, Transformer, no compromising. I think it's one of the best shields in the game. I've already gone over this. Stormfront, a grenade mod for me really on Mayhem 4 isn't that useful, especially if it's not anointed anyways. But the Stormfront's probably the best of the rest for me. The Victory Rush I have because you pretty much kill every badass enemy and every other enemy pretty much in one hit with the Iron Cannon, so obviously you're going to get that 18% movement speed and damage pretty much every single time. Now the cornerstone of the gear is the ST4CK BOT, which I've got a pretty good perk with at 31% heavy weapon damage, which works really well with the Iron Cannon. But I am looking for one with heavy and maybe a TDO perk on there. Not TDO, because I'm looking at a Jacobs perk on there as well, because once I find better variants of the Jacobs, that's what I'm going to be hopefully running as well. But the ST4CK BOT is obviously from the new Moxie's Heist DLC. Did a video not long back. You can farm Coco Chantal, I think is the name, one of the enemies in that, and it can drop class mods for you. But this build really works for me. As I said, it might not be for you, and I'm not saying it's amazing, but trust me, I fly through Mayhem 4 effortlessly with this build, and you know what? I haven't even got the high variants of the gear that I want at the moment. I pretty much just run iron cannons, and nothing really gets in my way. But there it is. There's my flak build for now. Anyway, I'm sure I'll tinker with it in the future. Hope you managed to take something away from this video. Anyways, if you did, let me know what you think in the comments below. Just let me know how trash you think it is. Whatever, that's fine. That's cool. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. I have been Donny Mayhem. I will catch you guys next time.